All right, aloha, good morning. Thanks so much for joining us today for another episode of our Careers in Marine Science and Ocean Conservation series. My name is Robin. I'm the Education Manager at Pacific Whale Foundation. Today I have Selket Kaufman joining me, and I'm really excited to introduce her to you and let you learn a little bit about her career journey. This career series, we really hope to share some of the stories of our staff members. They have some pretty cool stories of how they ended up on the career path that they are today, coming a long way from their initial career aspirations as children. And a lot of that journey really got them to where they are. So I'm really excited to share Selket's journey, especially because she does something that's really important for what we do, but not in a field of science exactly. And so I think that's really important for people to know too. There are ways to work in marine science and ocean conservation without being a scientist. So with that, I want to introduce Selket Kaufman, and maybe you want to start off by telling us what you wanted to be when you grew up.
Hi, thank you, Robin. Hi, guys and kids. When I wanted to grow up, I always wanted to be a pilot. Flying was always my thing. I don't know what it was. I loved watching birds fly. I just thought it was so powerful to go wherever you wanted to go. Just flap your wings and you're up there, you know. So I always wanted to do that, but I always had a strong love for the ocean. So there's a lot of things that I liked, but I never knew how that would all come together. So that's what this presentation that yesterday I spent a while putting together, but it was worth it. Going through all photos and archives was quite an experience.
And so now, tell us what you do now. You can briefly.
Oh yeah, so my official title is Visual Communication Specialist for Pacific Whale Foundation and the PacWhale Eco Adventures. I work in the marketing department. So I still do everything that I learned to do and then some, but it brought all my passion and my love for the ocean together in one place. So hopefully this presentation will kind of explain that. Yeah, I think I got lucky in a lot of ways, but I think the main emphasis of this presentation is to follow your passion, and no matter what, and everything else will kind of fall into place. So here we go.
So where do we begin?
All right, so this is in the beginning. I found some old pictures of me. That's me making the scowl. I always kind of had that scowl, but that's me as a baby. Since I can remember, I've always loved the ocean. Anytime we went to the ocean, I was just so happy playing with sand and feathers and rocks. Growing up,
Did you grow up near the ocean?
I grew up in California, but I wasn't near the ocean all the time. We had to travel towards the ocean, so I didn't get to wake up every day and see the ocean. So it was very special when I did get to go to the ocean. So anyways, so there's some small pictures. There's a bird. I put a bird up there that I always like painting and stuff like that. So
excellent artist.
Growing up, these are my heroes. Jacques Cousteau was, I always imagined him being my grandpa. The Muppets were a big part of my growing up. Sylvia Earle, B.B. King, my mom listened a lot to his music, and I fell in love with the guitar too. Amelia Earhart, she was one of my favorites. So yeah, growing up, these were some of my favorite people. So since I could remember, I've always wanted to, like I said, be a pilot. But since I can remember, I've also had a camera. Both my parents were photographers, and I just remember getting this little skinny camera for Christmas one year. I think I was
I remember those.
Do you remember those? And that even came
the
with
little flash.
Yeah. So I've actually found these pictures. These are some of the first pictures I've ever taken. This is back in the film days, kids. So now it's all digital.
You had an artistic eye then. Jeez.
So yeah, so we used to travel a lot by car, and these dinosaurs are in New Mexico, and this graveyard here where they have all these World War II planes. I think part of my falling in love with planes was my grandpa used to take us to air shows every year, and you know, all my cousins and my brother and all of the family would always like to go to like Disneyland or Knott's Berry Farm, but my favorite was always the air shows. And he had daughters growing up, and he didn't have so Charlie and I were kind of like close to him in that sense, but Charlie never really got into he was more into sports. And my grandpa used to help build model airplanes, so I learned a lot about like World War II airplanes, and it was just really cool seeing them fly. It was just really cool. I had that strong connection with my grandpa, and this was something that we shared together. So
Awesome.
yeah, I found that my old scrapbook. So so growing up as a kid, we traveled a lot. I grew up mostly in California, but I also grew up in Mexico and Guatemala, where I was born. So it was. I wouldn't give it up for the world, but it was challenging being the new kid at school. I did have to go to boarding school a couple times, and I did get to travel and see a lot of cool stuff. I was very in touch with different cultures, which was really cool. I became bilingual. But school was always difficult for me growing up. I was always that shy kid, and unlike my brother, who's like the social butterfly, I was more shy, and so I gravitated more towards animals and falling in love with animals, and because it was hard making new friends. Charlie had no problem making friends; he would make friends everywhere. But for me, it was a little different, and learning a new language and going back and forth to the States, and it was hard. I didn't like school. I never liked school. Yeah, so it was just different. Like I guess because it was kind of hard for me to learn new things so quickly, and different styles of education and all that. I didn't like boarding school at all either. So, but it was fun. I wouldn't give it up. I had a very unique childhood, wonderful childhood. Had a lot of great experiences, and yeah. So we moved a lot. We were like gypsies. So finally, I did. I graduated high school, and I didn't go to college right away. I decided to go backpacking with some friends for several years, kind of do some soul searching. Wanted to see really what I wanted to get into. I debated going into the Navy. I was very, very close, actually. I passed the test. They were calling me. But I don't know, for whatever reasons, that didn't happen. So I decided to go back to school. So I came back to California and started going to college at San Mateo, where I actually started taking photography a little bit more seriously. I had a professor, Lyle Gomez, he was just a really wonderful professor who gave me a lot of, like push and showing me, things, how to see things and what to look for. And he was just really inspiring. And I really started taking photography more seriously in terms of like, this is something maybe I can do. But my main first major was oceanography, and that's really what I wanted to study. But like I said, school was a little difficult for me. I loved college and university. High school and elementary school was hard. I always had trouble paying attention. I'd always be the kid looking outside the window. So it was I just learned a different way. So I got good grades. I got straight A's. College at San Mateo, I was on the dean's list every semester, but I had to work twice as hard, I felt like, to really get down with some of these subjects. Art, on the other hand, was very easy for me. It was a very natural thing to express myself. There was no wrong or right answer to it. It was just something that I created, and it felt good. I was good at math. Math made sense to me, but like biology and chemistry, I struggled with that. Political science, I wasn't a big fan of that. But So it was a chapter in my life here where I got accepted to U of Hawaii. I had a place to stay with because I was working for the college tutoring in like the what do you call that, computer lab. So I tutored Spanish and I tutored math. And my boss then, she was getting ready to retire with her husband. She's like, well, you're welcome to come stay with us and go get to school, because she was big on people going to school and getting, their education. And I thought about it. I really did. But, there's other things taking place in my life. You get distracted. So I ended up going to North Carolina instead. I got accepted to the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. It's the oldest public university in the country. Beautiful campus. It was just a really great environment to spend a greater part of 4 years. It was just really, really great. Made a lot of cool friends and just have a lot of good memories there. You got to keep an eye on the questions because I can't see if there's
Yes,
any.
I'm sorry. And I did forget to mention, as I always do in the beginning, if anyone has questions for Selket at any time, you can put them in the chat. You can raise your hand if you want to ask your question using your voice, or you can use the Q&A too.
Yes, I feel the presentation would be a lot better if I get questions. But yeah.
But it's exciting to hear about the journey. It's, it's interesting to hear, it's kind of people that triggered a lot of those, initial interests that you had and kind of aspirations, and then the journey gets you to where you are.
Yeah, North Carolina was definitely a great transition for me. I got accepted to the J School, which is the journalism school. I started getting assignments working for the Daily Tar Heel. So I worked my way. So usually at first you get like the not crappy stories, but like the boring stories. And if you work really hard, then you get the good stuff and you get to be on the court with, the Tar Heels are like, sports, if you know it, they're big on sports. So being able to go to these games and take pictures was really quite a treat. I had a lot of fun there. I learned a lot about deadlines and pressure, and it was great.
It's important.
Yeah, so that's Tyler Hansborough. When I started school at UNC, we won the national championships. That's in basketball. And when I graduated, we also won with him. So he's a really good player. Football I can never really understand, but they make good pictures. All right, so that said,
Is he planes again?
Yeah, so being in North Carolina really broadened my horizons. I met a lot of cool people. Going to that school was just like really, really great. I started meeting some really important people. That's Sam Abel, if all photographers know who he is, a very famous National Geographic photographer. I got really cool assignments. Like I was a personal photographer one day for the Princess of Thailand who came to the campus to learn about, we had just opened the hospital wing for cancer research, and she was interested in, she does a lot of really cool humanitarian work. So, that was really cool to be able to do that. And also through a story that I did for the paper, I met a friend of mine who was a pilot, and I did a story on how he, there's this old airstrip that he uses to, fly his planes, but also like there's a lot of rural places in North Carolina that it's hard for people to get medical supplies. So they use that for dropping, some people have like with this guy, he was so cool. His name was Bob. He would come and take me flying after we did the story, and there'd be people that have like strips in the backyard to drop off their medical supplies. But the story was because technically this campus owned that part of the landing strip, and they're considering building more, places for, for students, and dormitories and stuff. So it was kind of like this battle between, should we keep the strip or not? But anyways, I spent a lot of time with him. He was a mentor of mine. He was just an amazing man. I went through some, growing up, you go through your breakups and all that kind of stuff. But he was very inspirational, kept me in check, showed me how to fly. That's an RV. That plane can switch around really fast, but mostly we took the Cessna. He also had a little Piper Cub that we fly. So I have 3 takeoffs and 2 landings under my belt.
So you did get to pilot planes.
What's that? Yes. Well, I didn't have a choice. He's like, it's all you.
Trial by fire.
Yeah, no, it was cool. I spent a lot of time, with him flying, and I learned a lot. He was actually an environmental lawyer, so he did a lot of really cool stuff for the community in terms of protecting the environment, and he's just a really amazing guy, which I was blessed to have met. And so I really had fun when I was over there. It was a really great place to go to school and start this new chapter in my life, because finally I started focusing on like, okay, this is something I think I can do. This is something, I always liked the water. I've always liked flying, but I always had my camera with me. So having my camera with me kind of started opening up roads for me and getting into the right schools and meeting the right people. So I was blessed with that. So after I graduated, I did get published in a couple of pretty big places, like outlets. We had a lot of really cool projects that I was working with other groups, and it was just really cool. Like I won a lot of awards for certain works that I did, and it was just something very meaningful. And that's, I think when I left school, it's like I went in thinking, okay, I want to do something for me. What can I do that I really have a passion for? But then once I graduated, that thought changed to, wow, this is a powerful tool that you can actually tell these really cool stories that matter and people should, know about. And it just, I realized the power of photography, and this is back when multimedia was still kind of new. So I did a lot of video, and I put it together with pictures and learned how to tell stories that way. But yeah, I had a lot of really powerful professors that pushed me, and inspired me to continue on. So I left North Carolina with a lot of good memories and just a lot of good contacts and networking, and it was just a wonderful place, to go to school and stuff. So
and you got a new goal, and that's kind of what I love about highlighting what you currently do too, is that the storytelling is super important to what you do.
I don't know if you remember, but 2008, the market crashed. There was no jobs. I had no idea what I was going to do, but I'm like, well, I'll work for free if I have to, I just want to go out there and start doing it. So basically that's kind of what I did. I started getting little projects here and there, telling different stories, traveling to different places, and just kind of working more. It was basically freelance for free because I just wanted to kind of build up on my portfolio. So I got to do a lot of really cool stories, and these are stories that will be on my website when I publish it. It's almost ready. Actually, it is ready, but I have to fix some.
Always perfecting things. What would you say is, aside from what you're doing now with us, which we'll get to, of these travel assignments, either which place or which story that you got to tell would you say is your favorite?
That's a hard question.
Or just one that stands out the most? Well, I don't know.
The one in Thailand was very powerful, just to learn about the connection that animals can have with people, and discovering that bond between an elephant and the mahout who takes care of them, and that's his full-time job. Because you get all these, there is places where they mistreat animals and elephants especially, but this was a different story that I found, and it just shows you that there is that that balance that we need to embrace. And that was where I saw like, okay, I love animals, I love telling stories, and I kind of started putting things together into stories that I found interesting wherever I traveled. This one, The Forgotten Ones, I spent a couple months in Peru documenting people in Huanchaco, which is this small, actually, basically there's like these old archaeological sites that these students would go and learn about, but there'd also be a lot of squatters that would be selling that, you know, to tourists. So there's this understanding that one of the professors from the school, one of the schools decided to, okay, like, we'll help you guys, you know, build, you know, they didn't have running water, so we could, you know, build latrines and running water. If you guys protect this area, don't dig it up anymore, because this is like pre-Inca. I mean, it's really old stuff. So that was quite the experience too, learning that, and, you know, just learning about how other people survive in the world, and learning about, you know, all the things that we all need to be grateful for, because, you know, there's a lot of injustice, and that's kind of where I'm like, okay, these are the stories that matter to me, and these are the kind of things that I you know, I'm gonna tell about. Not everything's doom and gloom. I mean, the Nueva Fronteras, that was a crazy adventure. This bus, actually, it was one of my professors like, yeah, I heard there's this mystery bus that goes back from North Carolina back to Mexico, because some people can't stand not being with their family. You know, they'll come up here and work for, illegal immigrants come here and work for, you know, a couple of years, and they just cannot stand, you know, they leave their wives, they leave their kids. It's hard. So I'm like, well, you always hear about the story of people coming to the States, but never about how they leave. And since they came illegally, they have to leave. So there was this bus that I actually found out where it was and camped out. And yeah, I went on there with my equipment. Everybody's looking at me like, nobody talked to me for like, it took like 3 days to get down across the border, and nobody talked to me for the first couple of days. They thought I was like probably like a spy or something. I don't know. But eventually we made it down, and they started, you know, because I speak Spanish, they kind of started like, oh, okay, what are you doing with all that stuff? I'm like, no, I'm just a student. I just, you know, want to learn how to, you know, do stories and stuff. So, you know, so that's how kind of, I'm like, oh, this is cool. This is like, you could have, you know, tell a story and be part of like this adventure too as well. And yeah, I mean, I could go on about that. That story was actually pretty cool. But yeah, so I just started finding my own way and finding interesting stories and trying to, you know, do what I could with what I had at the time.
Awesome.
And then when I came back, I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? I need to do something, you know. So it's a long story, but basically I got a job working to help recruit and retain volunteer firefighters. It's kind of the same thing I do now, building a website and documenting all these people that like want to do something, you know, other than just, you know, their daily job. They want to get together and work. So because I signed up for a job thinking it was Delaware, North Carolina, but when I got back from Peru, they're like, no, it's Delaware, Wilmington, Delaware. And I'm like, where the heck is Delaware? I'm like looking on the map. But I took the job and I ended up doing it for 2 years. It was a 2-year service with the Emergency Services Corps. And basically it was a branch out of the AmeriCorps that Chris Coons developed, because the need for firefighters in that area was so crucial. We have 2 major highways. There's a lot of hazmat accidents and stuff like that. But anyways, the deal was, okay, you can take pictures and shoot and do your thing, but to be able to have access to the trucks, you have to go to basic fire school. So I did. I don't know if you can see.
Yeah.
Well, that's me. But this is me at fire school. I don't know. I think our faces are over the thing.
Oh.
But anyways, so I did do that, and I worked with Newcastle County has about 16 fire departments, and I worked with, I want to say close to 10 of them. Minquidale, however, Station 22 kind of took a liking to me. They saw that I was like, oh, she's pretty tough. Like, okay, she likes to clean the trucks. So they actually sponsored me to. I finished my basic Firefighter 1, but they actually sponsored me to continue my training, and I actually went to advanced courses and got. I went to self-survival and passed that course, which was brutal, and I couldn't believe I did it, but it really showed me what I'm made of. And if you really put your mind to something, you can accomplish basically anything. And I think that's what this experience taught me, was like, what do I know about, like I used to light fires when I was a kid, but I, being a girl, it's mostly a male dominated place. But, when people start seeing that you're dedicated and you really work hard, and they start taking you serious, and they just like, once you're accepted into the brotherhood, you're in, and they'll do anything for you. And so that was a very powerful lesson to learn, that if you really put your mind to things, you could, like, I have asthma. I never thought I could do that, and I really was proud of myself. I have certificates from school, the fire school and stuff that I got. So I thought it was a cool transition, but it wasn't, it was a cool thing to learn, but I wasn't, it was good to have under my belt, but I wanted to move on.
Yeah, those are amazing accomplishments. And I love the advice that comes out here. You put yourself out of your comfort zone a lot.
Yeah.
Slide, don't be afraid to try something new. That's a big one too.
Yeah, that's kind of what I want to tell the kids. Like, just because, you're always going to get people, oh, you can't do that because this, or you're too small, or you're a girl, or whatever, you're always going to get people that you can do anything you put your mind to. You really can. I mean, if you have the opportunity, take it, and don't be afraid to put yourself out there and be, outside of your comfort zone, because that's the only way you'll grow and know what you're capable of. So it was quite a, for me, it really helped, because I was always like that shy kid, and this kind of helped me get that confidence to just like, okay, world, I'm ready. So yeah, it was definitely a great learning experience.
That's awesome.
Then I decided to go back to the West Coast, and I got my first job working at Defiance Zoo and Aquarium and Northwest Trek Park, Wildlife Park, which is cool because it was my first dive into the nonprofit world, and basically these animals. So yes, it was a zoo that sustains itself, kind of like Pacific Wildlife Foundation does, through the admission. But what they do is they rehabilitate animals that have been neglected, abused in circuses. This guy here, this walrus, E.T., he was a pup when they found him, and the mom had got like hit by a vessel or something, and he was just a little baby, and he ended up growing to be quite big. They had a really cool rehabilitation for the endangered red wolf species, which was great. And yeah, basically I got to take pictures of all these cool animals, and basically what I'm doing now, and what I did for Emergency Services Corps was kind of, just build on their website, take pictures for their website and press releases, make little videos, especially like if the animal had like a vet, like E.T. would get his yearly exam. That was like a big thing in the news. So you'd have to go in there and you measure him and take his blood and all this stuff, and it was quite interesting. The little Sumatran tigers that they, so a lot of places kind of like take animals to where they feel like, so we had a little Sumatran tiger, and then another zoo had a different tiger, slightly different species, but the same age. So they decided to bring them together so they can kind of learn them together, because they didn't have a mom. So just kind of raising them. And then this is when he got big. This one, Duma, he got big really fast. Yeah, so it was a really cool experience. I really loved it. I was there for about a year. I love the Pacific Northwest, but it was a little too rainy for me, I just didn't feel like home. I did have an aunt that lived out there, so it was nice to have family. But after traveling around, and I had a big German Shepherd at the time, I decided, okay, maybe I should settle down for a little bit and stop traveling because the dog, it's hard traveling with him. But while I was out there, I did decide to get Scuba certified. I think that was a big, cool accomplishment that I did because I did it in the Puget Sound. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, it's cold.
So
that's me with my team in a dry suit, which didn't really work too much, but yeah. But yeah, I really wanted to still stay in touch with my love for the ocean, so I decided to get that done, and it was quite the ordeal, but it was great. I loved it. So I decided to move to Hawaii. My brother had already been living here for a while, and my mom was out here, and I needed to settle down. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'll call Hawaii my new home for now. And I didn't know what to expect. It's new. Everybody that moves here is like, okay, what do I do now? So it's just like any move. It's you never know what to expect. But I don't know if I can play this. You like that?
Beautiful, with Molokini in the background.
So before I moved out here, though, I did some research, and I knew that I wanted to work for Pacific Whale Foundation before I even moved out here. It was funny because I tracked down Blake and called him nonstop and just pestered him. And he's like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know there's nothing, back then there wasn't much of a marketing department. They outsourced everything. And he's like, I just don't know what you want to do, And I'm like, I'll do anything. I'll do whatever it takes. I don't care. So when I did finally, he's like, well, talk to me when you get here. So when I did finally move out here, the first thing I did was, go and harass him. And he's like, I don't know, and he's like, kind of like, didn't know what to do. So I ended up working for a company, Forever Maui, that takes portraitures of families at the Ritz-Carlton and Nuakai and all these fancy resorts or whatever. It was money. I was doing it, but it wasn't really my passion. And by this time, I had already tried the baby photography. I did a little bit of that in Seattle. I've tried real estate photography, just to damper on different things to see, where would I fall, that would make sense.
But it wasn't the storytelling that you were really passionate about.
Yeah. So it's just, I don't know. I just Pacific Whale Foundation for some reason called my attention, and I was like, okay, I definitely want to know about this. And I saw their beautiful photography. I was like, wow, that'd be great if I could do that. So I did the Forever Maui for a couple of months and met some cool people there too. But I wasn't feeling it. It wasn't really who I was. And then Blake finally called me. He's like, okay, I got a job for you. And he's like, but you're not gonna like it. You're not gonna want to do it. I'm like, I'll do it. Just tell me, when do I start? He's like, okay. And I didn't even ask him what it was. I just said, okay, you start Monday, whatever. So I quit my other job.
Just a foot in the door. That's all you want.
I was living in the Pili side, so I went to Lahaina, and I think her name was Heather. Was training me. She's like, oh, thank God, I can't do this. She was a naturalist, and she was taking boarding pictures. I remember she's like, I'm so sick of this. I don't want to do this anymore. So I went over there and I said, okay, what am I doing? And so basically it's taking pictures of our guests with the little ring, and doing that. And at first I was like, you gotta be kidding me. But you know what? No, I'll do it, and I'm gonna do a good job at it. So I had fun with it, and I loved, the whole Lahaina scene and just running around like crazy. I got really tanned and skinny with that heat. But I did it, and I did, I made the best out of it. I wasn't gonna not take that opportunity, because I knew I wanted to get in and let's see what happens. And so I did that for almost 2 years. Then it kind of moved up to where I started kind of managing that side of the operations, but I wasn't a good manager either. I don't make a good manager. So
you're bringing up some good things there, though. You took the opportunity to get your foot in the door, which sometimes is important.
That's all I wanted. That's all I asked Blake for. Yeah.
Yeah, work towards what you want to do, and recognizing what you are and are not great at, or what you really like doing and what you don't.
Yeah, exactly. And don't knock it till you try it. And you know what? Not only did I try it, I think I did a really good job in trying to make something organized, because the department was kind of like, it wasn't very organized, and I didn't know how to manage very well, but we did it. And thankfully we found somebody amazing and smart, business savvy, to kind of take over that department, and he's created this wonderful operation now, which we don't have to worry about anymore. And yeah, it's a great place to start. If you're new to Maui or whatever, and you want to get doing something cool, that's one thing you can start with. I had so much fun. But eventually, do you remember Ann Rolero, right? Yes. So she called me in and she's like, Selket, I'm looking at your stuff here. Like, what are you doing? Do you like managing the photo department? I'm like, no, I don't like managing the photo department. She's like, well, I think you need to, I see you know how to make stories and tell stories. And she's like, I think we should really tell Greg Kaufman's story. And this is before I even met him. And I said, okay, yeah. And then little by little, I just started working more for we didn't really have much of a marketing department, but they're like, oh, we need pictures of this, or we need pictures of that. So I'd go and take pictures and do this, mostly commercial type stuff, which was cool. It was new to me as well. So I was like, okay, let's try it. And little by little, I just basically started getting more work. And the position that I have right now, basically I created based on all the different needs that the department needed at the time. And it was just a wonderful thing. I was so grateful and blessed and honored. Finally, I have the opportunity to create, make something that I feel passionate about and I feel I'm good at, because I'm not good at, a lot of things, but there's certain things that I am passionate about, and storytelling is definitely one of them. So I was just very fortunate that I came in at the right time when things are still transitioning. We're a lot bigger now, our department, but it was a good move. It was a good move, and through that, my very first assignment with Pacific Well Foundation actually was to go to Ecuador and tell Christina's story. Christina Castro is our lead researcher in Ecuador, and wow, what an amazing story! What an amazing woman! And I was blessed to go over there and tell that story. That was quite an experience as well. I was down there for a month, and it was definitely, yeah. I think the you could see it on our website, that little project that I created.
Favorites that you made. And I love them all. And that's, you were saying, the role didn't exist, and that's something that we were really lacking. We were doing good work, but not so great at sharing our story and sharing.
Yeah, that's basically what it is, sharing our story. Yeah. So, that to me was a big, it was not easy. Greg, we worked together on that project. When I got back, he's like, I want to see what you got. I showed him. He hated it, but it was a lot of work, but at the end it came out wonderful. And it's funny because I had problems with the narration, and I didn't know who was going to narrate it, or Christina we needed something to fill in the overall story. And I finally told her, I said, you know what, why don't you narrate it? And he did. So I think that's my favorite part of that whole story, is when I watch it, is I hear his voice. But yeah, it was a lot of tears, a lot of sweat on that project, but I was ready for more after that. So this month actually marks my 7th year with Pacific Whale Foundation.
That's awesome.
I know. I can't believe it's been this long. 2 things I've learned job title is just a title. What's important is the opportunity to learn and grow and have fun and run with it. Because when I started, I had no idea what would become of it, but I just knew I was driven and I was interested and I was passionate, and it worked itself out. And hard work and dedication always pays off. Like that's just, there's no way to go around that. So those are my two pieces of advice for young students out there who like certain things but not sure how that goes with this, or just make yourself marketable by finding your talents and expanding on that. Whatever your passion may be, just work on things that are going to make you better for anything that revolves around that, whether it be science or photography. I didn't really get into the whole science thing, but I'm part of it. I'm part of a mission that I feel strongly about, and I found my way of giving to that. So I'll let the researchers do all the hard stuff.
But every job is important, and that's such great advice.
Yeah. But yeah, I've met some of those important people here, and I'm truly devoted and honored to be part of it all. So it's definitely been a great I knew there was a reason. I don't know why, but I just felt it. I felt it in my gut. This is recently what I'm very proud about. My website's almost getting ready to be launched. I have to work on a little bit, but this film that I just created, this for the film festival, has won quite a few awards already, and very proud of it. I wasn't a solo one-man job. I had a lot of help from a lot of people, and I'm very blessed that everybody knew how passionate I was about this story, and now it's being recognized. So I'm very, very excited to share that with the world and continue to tell these kind of stories.
Absolutely. And it is awesome. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend that you do.
Yeah, and we'll leave the link on the descriptor. We can put the links on there. So yeah, so that's
perfect.
Hope to travel some more. These are some places I've gotten to go the last couple of years. Just traveling is all kind of incorporated with everything that I like and do. So that's it.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for sharing your story. Anybody that's here with us live right now, if you have questions, if you want to put them in any of the many modes that you can do so while we're here in Zoom. You honestly covered everything so well. A lot of the questions that I usually like to ask you covered. I always like to get advice for anyone aspiring to a similar career or just in general. And covered that well, and your attraction to PWF, which I always like to emphasize.
Yeah. Yeah, and if there's questions that come up later, feel free, we could still answer them afterwards, right?
Yes, if you want to give your email address, that's always helpful for those that are watching our recording.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just email me, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
So her email is her first and last name, which you should be able to see right under her picture, SELKETKAUFMAN @pacificwhale.org.
Actually, you could just put Selket @pacificwhale.org.
Ah, you have one of those old school. So either way, those will get to her. If you have any questions we didn't get to while we were live, or if you're watching our recording, feel free to get in touch. But with that, thank you so much, Selket, for sharing your story with us.
I'm happy that you guys are doing this to inspire the kids. I know it's kind of a hard thing we're dealing with now, but just keep going, keep making it happen.
Yes,
all come together. Yeah.
And thanks so much to everyone for joining us this morning. We will see you again shortly. Until then, ahui ho and aloha.
Bye. Thank you.